One of the things you hear about legumes, all the misconceptions are the legumes don't last in your pastures. There are a lot of bloating issues with it. You don't hear of the benefits for the soil. You don't hear that if you've got the right legumes in there, you won't be able to bloat. And then the right legumes, right grazing management of legumes. Legumes aren't a range management species because they're so palatable that the cattle will hunt them and chew them out, and people say they don't last long in your pastures. Well, that's true if you're range management, but if you're a micromanagement or a cell management, they thrive under that. If this whole section was opened up and I had 400 head of cattle or 500 grazing on here, I'd have to think about starting to replant here sooner or later, because the cattle will select the species they want. They'll take the soft leaf grasses, they'll take the soft leaf legumes and leave the tougher stuff, and towards the end of the season it'd be all too rank and they would be walking around looking for something to eat, even though there's brome and fescue this high. So being able to manage in smaller cells, it benefits the whole system. In this situation, by letting 2 paddocks rest at the end of the year, they don't get a second grazing, so we rotate those paddocks through. What we'll do is just let it go to seed, and then through the winter it does its thing and drops seed, and then the following year the paddock next door might be the same. So the resting period is huge management, and if you can rest a paddock, you'll notice the benefits within a couple of years, because we're leaving a solar panel there for it to gather energy through the season and to the fall, so it builds a stronger root system up. And if you constantly graze paddocks and keep them short, well, coming this time of year, people say legumes die off, they're not winter hardy, this and that. Well, they're not winter hardy because they haven't got a solar panel there to gather energy for the winter to put in their root system to help that structure survive through the winter. So there's a lot of misconceptions, but it's easy stuff to manage. One thing I do believe in is putting more legumes the better, and it's not necessarily alfalfas. I try to use a lot of sandfloin and vetches with alfalfas and some clovers. So we have a balance of legumes, so it eliminates my bloating problem. But the reason I use so many legumes is about 50% legumes in my pasture is for soil health.
Legumes provide a lot of nitrogen to keep that pasture kind of self-sufficient in nutrients. So we've got 15, 17-year-old pastures that have never seen fertilizer.
It doesn't cost the farm to experiment. You don't have to turn the whole quarter section or the section overnight into what's recommended. You might hear of something else. Buy 1 bag of that thing and seed it and see what happens.
Getting a properly inoculated legume into that stand, into our stands, has proven to be a really important feature, and probably the key element that's allowed us to be as productive as we are on our tame pastures.
One of the beauties with these legumes is the podding. We always leave about 2 or 3 paddocks that haven't been grazed twice. We let them go to pod, and so those pods drop seeds, and eventually the whole place gets taken over with sandfloin and vetch. Where alfalfas, it's not as ready, doesn't reproduce that way as strong as what the clovers and the sandfloin and the vetches do. So if they're a newbie just coming in, just starting out, don't rush it. Go around, get as much information, get some people you trust and who are proving they're doing a good job. A lot of guys say they're doing a good job, they think they are, but they just don't get off their own hill to go and have a look. And also never stop asking questions, because there's always new technologies coming on, new species coming through, new ideas coming into this industry. It's always changing, and if you get fixed on one thing, then that can potentially end up leading you down the wrong path, because there's new technologies all the time. So yeah, the more information you gather and then start into it.